Yeah, we got to give it a second, right?
Just a little bit.
I got like such little patience in me for this. I'm just like sitting here. I'm like, let's get going. At work, like we'll have meetings, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we'll give everyone a couple minutes." And I'm like, "All right." Now we're just all sitting in silence on the call.
It's a surprise little Sunday stream.
Yeah, yeah.
Uppercut.
Let me tweet it then. We'll start at a minute 30. You guys think?
Yeah.
Oh, Twitter notification. The Philly Blitz is live. Everybody should have that. Oh, we should be telling people that, bro.
Turn on the post notifications.
Yeah. Yeah, we should, for us going live and stuff.
Okay, we got people trickling in.
It might be us. That's my worry.
I don't know. It's 8.
Oh,
The Memphis Grizzlies are trading Desmond Bain to the Orlando Magic. KCP, Cole Anthony, and 4
first-round picks, bro.
wait, 4?
4.
I saw the beginning of the trade, and I was like, oh, all right. Like,
I just kept reading, and it kept getting more and more absurd.
that is crazy. All right. Well, shall we get to it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Philly Blitz Pod, powered by 14th and Market. I'm Parth. I'm here with Pierre and Quell on a beautiful Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you, Quell, the only father on the podcast here. So, we appreciate you being all dad-like with your dad jokes and the like, but wanted to give you a happy Father's Day and a happy Father's Day to all those out there and, all the fathers that are listeners of the pod. We appreciate you. Dads are important, man. They're important. So we appreciate y'all.
Definitely need more fathers in the home.
Appreciate you fellas, man. Appreciate you fellas, man. One beloved dub to those who celebrate. It is I, the one and only Quell Frith Owens, and I'm excited to talk the one day of Eagles minicamp that we had. They gave us a sneak preview and said, okay, we'll see you guys after the summer.
It's like, it's very on par for what this Eagles offseason has felt like, and honestly, maybe even training camp, save for a few positions. It's just like, yeah, we know what they are. The team has, for the most part, stayed together. There's, like I said, a couple positions, but it's just kind of like, all right, yeah, you'll see it for a little bit, and then we'll see you during the season. And even that, during the season, it was like, oh yeah, you see a little bit, but we'll show you during the playoffs. So it's just it's very on par for the Eagles. But a lot of stuff to talk about from that one day. So I don't know.
Wait. Y'all interpreted it as like from just a mandatory minicamp day. I meant like just overall encompassing from all the offseason training.
Well, yeah. I just thought there were a lot of like good observations from yesterday's minicamp that not yesterday, but this week's that EJ Smith gave on the Ringers Philly special. Little shout out to Keely Ringo for being out there a lot, starting and making some plays, hitting a little stand. So it seems like he's getting his confidence, which is what we've talked about as priority number one for him, right? Is getting those reps and getting the confidence that comes with the reps, because we know he has the prototypical size, speed, strength, whatever it might be. We know he can do it. We got to just see him put it all together. So that's encouraging to see. But it's also just nice that two kind of Philly Blitz guys that we've talked about are having a good camp, because Terrace Marshall has also kind of had some moments, and that was one of our draft guys, dude. Like, we were all like pretty high on Terrace Marshall, like just grab him late, like see what you can do with him. So it's fun to see him coming here. And good nugget by EJ is that Jalen name dropped him, right? Like they were asking him about Jahan and the chemistry that he's been building with him since the Super Bowl and all that, but he name dropped Terrace Marshall right there as well. So obviously has the draft pedigree, has the school pedigree, because he comes from a division in football where it's just like it means more in college. It's just how it goes. But he has that going for him. But it'll be interesting to see how that receiver room shakes out. That's also one of those fun spots that we'll be able to watch is wide receiver 3. And then the last observation is that seeing a lot of Steen still. It's looking like it's his job to lose. It's been that in the past, so he's got to keep that up. But it's definitely good that looks like he's getting a lot of reps, because that's important for him as much as it is for someone like Keeley, because he still needs them, right? He's a very young player.
Yeah, so you brought up Tyler Steen. Like literally, the first thing I have here in my notes is Tyler Steen has a padlock-like hold on the right guard spot, and it's like throughout all the offseason training, he's been the main constant, at right guard. Right, he's been the only player taking first team reps. And I think maybe that could change when pads come on next month. But I mean, I think like we said all along throughout the offseason, it seems like internally they want him to win the spot, and they're gonna continue to give him every chance to win that spot.
Mm-hmm. Quell, you're on mute, bro.
Of course. Like you said, Pierre, we've talked about this where, I mean, it seems like they want him to win the job. At the same time, I won't start holding my breath until next month where we can get a real observation of exactly what's going on. Because, I mean, like I said before, it feels like we've read this book before. They wanted him to win the job last year. And, I mean, maybe Mekhi Becton was just too undeniable, especially considering the fact that they think they were like the heaviest offensive line in the league last year, like just some mauling people. So, and I mean, of course, that's a completely different side of the ball, but it's kind of similar to what Vic Fangio said on his presser, where he said, I mean, that's what worked for us last year. When you look at the personnel that we had, this year might not be like that. So, I mean, it's a year by year basis. So hopefully it all works out well for Sting. At the same time, we got to wait to see what comes to fruition for him. Now, at the same time, saying that, like you guys mentioned with Terrence Marshall and how he stood out, how Jalen actually mentioned him by name. But
wait, Q, before you finish, it's hilarious how like with Jalen we have these things where it's like, oh, he mentioned him by name, so that must mean he likes him.
He ain't gonna do that
because he's smart about how he does things, right? Like everything he says is intentional. Right, it's very intentional. So it's like you do have to like look into it a little bit. It's very reporter brain. There's no question about it. But like, if you get asked a direct question about another player and you mention someone else by name right there, that stands out, right? Especially same position group and all those types of things. I think you have to just be putting your head in the sand to ignore that. And at the end of the day, dude, having both is not a bad issue either. There's room in the receiver room. So, yeah, go on, Q. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. By all means, it kind of goes into everything that I was saying the last pod when we had the linebacker conversation, for lack of a better term, where it feels like to me with this football team, specifically a Howie Roseman thing. I say every single offseason, it feels like where we come into the offseason, we identify the needs of the team. By the time we get to the draft, we sitting there like, this team has no holes. What are they going to do in the draft? They can do anything. And now it seems like we've seen the next evolution of that, where the one thing that I was thinking about this earlier, the one thing that stood out to me about the 2017 team, even the 2022 team, and this year's team is the depth that the roster continued to show. Like just deep groups at multiple units across both sides of the ball. And kind of like Howie and Vic have continued to outline throughout the offseason, we're going to have to get a lot of production from a lot of young players, which kind of brings us to another conversation that we'll have about a potential signing of Jair Alexander. But it seems like the goal around there is the young players got to step up, which makes sense. They have a lot of money allocated, which, I mean, side note, I don't know if you guys seen the video that was just released from Nicole Lynn, where she had the opportunity to talk about the contract. And with the process of it, it was cool. I didn't ask you to make me the highest paid player in the league. Like, bro,
I didn't ask you to do all that. She's like, oh,
what about the team?
Thanks, dude. Like, usually people say thanks. Like, he's like very like we've said, man, very just Brady brained in that way of just like, no, like we need to like I care about winning more than anything else, and that it's one thing.
Patriots, though, with Brady though, the Patriots, they was doing some of that under the table stuff though.
You don't.
I mean,
I'm sure there's a lot of rare breed shirts that are being sold within the Eagles building. I'll put it that way. But regardless, like it's one thing to say it, it's one thing to actually do it, and to believe it to that extent. So that's just the great thing about having Jalen as the quarterback. One thing I wanted to say about some of these battles is, like you said, Quell, like it's still training camp, right? It's shorts are on, and that's a huge part of it, right? And that could be why. And I wanted to point to the dichotomy of the two kind of battles that we talked about here with guard and corner, where I think Steen could be looking good right now because he knows, the offense. He doesn't have to worry about getting overpowered. You can just kind of go through the motions, right? I think someone like Keely, if he's starting to look good right now in shorts, I think when you have the ability to be a little bit more physical when the pads come on, I think that actually bodes very well for him. So I think you can see it going both ways, right? And that's just how it goes. And that's why these conversations around shorts and helmets are just tough, because you never really know how it's going to go when the pads come on. So it's just something to keep in mind, and it'll be something interesting to watch, because like we talked about at the beginning of the pod, there's not a bunch of super crazy storylines on this pod. Like, we're talking about wide receiver 3, starting guard, which is big. Edge is a question in terms of depth, and then safety, and then it's corner, right? So there are those few conversations, but otherwise the team is solid, right? So you can focus on those conversations, and that means that the conversations this summer are going to be insane, dude. Like, it's just going to be so day to day.
The safety competition, that's gonna be cinema, man. It's gonna be cinema, because I think it's right now. It's between Sid and Drew McCougar, right? Like, it's interesting to look.
It's not.
Hey,
It's not.
We just had a whole conversation.
We just talked about
people
Vic
being mentioned by name.
Jalen. He's name dropped.
Okay, I'll say this. I'm looking at it as Sid Brown.
I was about to say he wants it to be McCougar or Sid.
Yeah.
Don't forget
Tristan
about
McCullum come out there taking week 1 first team snaps. Pierre gonna be like, "This is an atrocity."
He's turning off the TV. He's like, "I'm not watching this."
Didn't he get snaps week 1 in Brazil last year? Right. I think he did.
Yeah.
Because I remember tweeting, "Lord, we got Tristan McCollum on the field."
Bro's a hater. He's a hater.
It's
Tristan
interesting.
McCullum gonna become our modern day Marcus Epps.
I'll be for it. I was a Marcus Epps truther.
Well, you're not for it, clearly, because you don't want him to play. So don't try to steal the valor later on when Tristan McCollum is an all-pro safety. All right.
You seen the meme where it's like, I'm playing both sides, so I can't lose.
Yeah. I'm playing both sides, so I always come out on top.
Well, no, it's interesting to look at the safety competition, because it's like there's been all this talk about Cooper DeJean playing safety in base sets, and even potentially, I wouldn't be surprised if they look at him, even if they're in nickel, use him at safety. But just how like interchangeable a lot of the different pieces can be. Like, look at Cooper, he can play multiple spots. McCougar, he played multiple spots when he was in college. I think they got him work at nickel, and when they were in dime, they got him down in the slot. They got him work there. Sidney Brown, like we talked about last pod, he has some of that roamer potential to him, kind of.
I mean, he played nickel at college too, didn't he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's kind of like positionless football at its finest. My personal favorite. And I think it's just going to be interesting to see once the pads come on how Vic kind of maneuvers everything and kind of paints the picture. It'll be like watching Leonardo da Vinci in real life.
So if it's positionless, we're gonna put Tristan McCollum at nose tackle, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the secondary,
fully positionless, and then we're putting Jordan Davis at free safety, baby. Let's go, get the big man moving.
Imagine they come out Jordan Davis right there, middle linebacker, just fat Jordan Davis in the middle of the field.
I mean, he's eating up space there too, I guess. No, I think it's just going to be fascinating. I think personally, my prediction is we end up seeing Cooper play safety in base, just because there's just more flexibility there. You can use him in different ways there, and I just think Keely's gonna step up. Like, look, I had questions at the beginning of the offseason, but I think what we've seen and what I expect from camp now, I think he's going to be able to kind of solidify that spot where you'll feel comfortable. Because I think a huge part of playing corner in this system, we've talked about it, is
comfortability.
is comfortability, but also physicality. Like you have to be physical to play corner.
Yep.
Like Slay struggled with it from time to time, but then there were times when he would be willing to put his shoulder down, and that's when we looked the best, you know. And Keeley, he thrives on that, right? So I think having him on the field as just an extra run defender is something you're always going to want to do. And then if you can keep Coop on there, I think you end up wanting to do that, especially because then you have question marks at safety, right? Like I feel like they'll be more of a question mark than Keeley, who's had 2 years in the system now.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger things. Like when you look at the personnel that they have, like a lot of them, specifically in the secondary, it's more taller, physical run support type DBs, right? And Keeley, him being a guy that's 6'2", over 200 pounds. What did he ran a 4.3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the measurables are there, right? So
that's ridiculous.
Being that size, running that fast, bro.
I mean, you guys know how I feel about it. Hopefully, I got faith that he does well. At the same time, I do feel like we're doing a lot of projecting in terms of what Keeley should be able to do at his size in this defense.
I mean, we've seen him on the field a little bit. Yeah, like you remember against the Browns when he smacked the dude.
I think that's the one thing that I feel comfortable about Quell is like his physicality in the run game. Because every time he's come in, he's been ready to just hit somebody. And now, obviously, that has its pluses and minuses, and no one's going to lie about that. But that's why I've said, like, I think the reps are important. But I think the physicality in the run game is what I'm most comfortable with. Now, his pass coverage in man, that's what I definitely have worried about a little bit. But you know, him being
turn your head around, brother.
No way possible they play as much man as they did last year.
Exactly. So I think they'll just be playing to the player's strengths more. But yeah, exactly. Who knows? You never know with Vic, and he'll have everybody ready for everything. But
before we move on to Pierre's point that he mentioned about them and maybe moving Coop around even outside of base defense to play some safety, I've heard that they've been trying their hardest to get Prairie Nicholson a lot of reps at the nickel spot this offseason, and they've liked what they've seen so far. So that's something to keep an eye on. Again, it's early.
Like,
even with like McCubbin, like they've got him, work down in the slot too. So that's what I'm saying. Like I really think this is going to be a bunch of positionless, interchangeable guys.
Yeah, I mean that was the goal in the end. I mean, I still think we end up seeing Cooper take the lion's share of nickel reps just because
that's what he's best at.
Yeah, you want him close to the line of scrimmage as well, just because he's such a good run defender. He's maybe our best tackler on defense. Like, just I'll never forget the stick on Derrick Henry. Like, just who do you think who's better?
Reed,
yeah. I mean, fair, but the white boys know how to tackle, dude. It's just form tackles every time, dude. They're putting the shoulder to the hip and they're grabbing the legs. It's beautiful to watch. 2-arm tackles every time.
I ain't never seen a player come from the third level and crash down and make a play at the second or before as soon as they approach the second level the way Reed Blankenship does.
That's true.
But you saw the running joke that we had a couple years ago where Reed had to play safety and linebacker for the team.
Listen. I'm not trying to take away from Reed, but my point is you'd want one of them closer to the line of scrimmage. But I do think we'll see a bunch of interchangeability, positionless football, as Pierre likes to say. So I want to skip around a little bit in the itinerary that we had because I think it makes sense to talk about Jair here as well as edge. But before we get into that, training camp edge takeaways, I think it's just we have to figure out who's going to take some of these reps. Like the top two guys seem like Nolan and Jalik, and you have two solid guys there, but God forbid one of those guys is to go down or, I mean, regardless, somebody else is going to need to take some of the reps. So I think it's figuring that out in the background. Lane Johnson gave Josh Uche shout out, said that he had him beat once against the Patriots last year, but the ball was already out, so it didn't count. But I think the question marks are just like, who's behind those guys? There were a lot of reps last year. I think there was like 400 reps that like are just kind of still unaccounted for, even if Jalix and Nolan play as many reps as Jalen. So I don't know. It's definitely a question. So I want to know what you guys think about what you guys think from training camp and then potential edge rusher moves we could make.
So for me, it's kind of like you said, Parth. There are a lot of snaps left on the table. And when you listen to some of the things that you hear the coaches say over the time, and not even just the coaches, but other players, like I was curious to hear. You guys know how I feel and have harped on all off season about the quote unquote the Brandon Graham role and things of that nature. They want to be able to play him inside and outside. And it was interesting to hear a guy like Vic talk about the ability of Thomas Booker and how he could get a few more outside snaps. They don't want to take him too far away from what he's been doing in the middle of this defense, but he has the ability to play both inside and outside. Like you mentioned with Lane Johnson in terms of Josh Uche, he immediately said Uche. He also mentioned how I don't want to say struggled, but Uche has given him some problems for the duration of his career, as long as he can remember. And even then, when you look at who the quote unquote first team defense was out there, doesn't think it's a shock to anybody that Ojulari was the first edge up with the group. So you're hearing a whole lot about every single body that they can up to this point. And I think it kind of comes down to just like Vic said about the safety position. It's going to be something that is going to take a full training camp, a couple of preseason games, because you want to get everybody comfortable, not just comfortable in the defense, but see exactly what you can do with them in terms of roles.
Yeah, the picture feels really muddy after Jalix and Nolan, right? Like, you got Uche, you got Ojulari. Those are two veterans, guys who, started a lot of games in this league and, they've shown the ability to produce. But at the same time, like, if Nolan or Jalix goes down, like, we're kind of like, what do we do, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, I think, free agent wise, is Zadarius Smith, he's still available, right? I'm pretty sure.
Talking about cash dolls, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, no, man. I mean, I think they'll bring in a body or two because they need the depth, right?
Yeah.
See, yeah. It's so, and I mean, again, that's why I'm glad Parth brought up the whole Jair conversation too, because technically you're not wrong. Like, they could use the depth. Same thing at cornerback. I mean, they could use the depth. I mean, while they signed Adoree', we got to see exactly how that turns out with him through camp. And I mean, of course, assuming health, like you guys just mentioned, God forbid anybody goes down, then it becomes a significant question. But if you sit there and you listen to these guys talk, like I said a second ago, the goal is to get these young players ready. Yeah. And you look at some of the young guys that I got the depth chart pulled up right now. Like, I've heard that they really like Mac McWilliams. I mean, they've even been trained. They've cross-trained them from both nickel and outside corner right now. Heard that we know that they love APR from the draft capital that they spent on him. At the same time, he's a young player. They have I don't want to say heavily invested, but they invested in KJ Henry last year once the Commanders released him, put him on the roster. So there's some guys in the building who they may or may not play significant snaps for the defense this year or make a significant impact. At the same time, I do think they'll give those guys the opportunity to kind of see what they got before they make a veteran move. Now, the question is, as we get towards the end of spring or closer to April, and if one of those guys are still available, would they make that kind of move? Maybe, but I don't see it being something that is on the horizon right now, at least.
Yeah, no, I tend to think that if they bring in anybody, it'll be if somebody gets injured, high profile wise, if somebody gets injured or a midseason trade.
So high profile. What are you thinking? Like a Trey Hendrickson or?
Yeah, like one of those. Like making a trade because we have a ton of draft capital. Like that's not a question. It's just a matter of making the money work. But I think they figure it out in season if they have to. But I think, like Quell said, I think the focus is on getting the young players to play right now. That's the priority. Same thing with Jair, right? It's like it's another position. And you said, they need to maybe sign guys for depth. We did do that, right? That we signed three guys for depth on the defensive line. So then they'll just see how that all works out, and then if there's a need, they'll fill the need. I think they're pretty honest about evaluating themselves. So yeah, and especially Vic. So we'll see in the season, but I think, and now pivoting to the Jair Alexander conversation, I think it's just non-starter for me at this time. Like, he's just going to be expensive. He's injury prone. He's damn good when he's playing, but he's injury prone. He's expensive, and we have young corners that we want to play and step up.
Yeah, and like I tend to agree with you. Like I know I saw I can't remember which reporter it was, but the connection that he has with Christian Parker and everything like that. And sure it's there, but like you said, I tend to believe that they want Keeley to start. They want Keeley to play. Like we said all pod, they want the young guys to play. And, adding how Jair Alexander is what, 28, 27?
Something like
28.
Yeah.
28.
Adding an expensive, injury prone 28-year-old corner. That doesn't sound like a Howie Roseman move to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I mean, granted, he's a tad bit younger than what Slay was, but it just feels like we just got out of this situation.
Yeah,
it will kind of be redundant to put yourself right back in it.
And he's not as good as Slay.
I think he could be as good as Slay in Detroit as Slay was in Detroit. Jair's been really good, dude.
Jair's been really good.
But Slay was like a top 5 corner when he was
in the point in time. Jair was too.
Yeah, like I think the injuries are making us forget. But Jair was. We were talking about Jair as like a top 3 corner for a while, bro. Like he was cooking there for a minute. I remember. When I think of the name Jair Alexander, I still think of like, oh, good corner. So that's about where I'm at. But I don't know. I think I would say him and Slay Detroit, I would put on equal footing. I think Slay really, really broke out into like Slay on the Eagles, which is crazy to say because he was in his 30s. But I mean, the resurgence he had was unbelievable. Regardless, I think we're all on the same page. Want Keeley to figure it out. We have a Dory Jackson in the building.
Eli Ricks.
Eli Trump Ricks. He'll probably take her last name. But anyways, so we're talking about training camp. Jalen Hurts is in a good training camp. This is the second or third year in a row where we've gotten the report that the ball is barely touching the ground, and then we always go back to the Sam Bradford practice and the Tom Brady practice is just like the ball didn't touch the ground. But
brother, wait, Sam Bradford lit the Packers up in their preseason game.
I was like, oh,
great
this
times.
is great number one overall pick. I see it. Yes. Sammy
ball
Sleeves, baby.
So fast, on time, on target, man. I have never had such a great time watching preseason football.
Sammy Sleeves.
The best 10 minutes of my life.
Special talent. Always looking confused. Always
the mid-play screenshots to zoom in on his helmet.
But anyways, getting back to the point at hand, Jalen has looked good in camp again. We talked about it earlier on an earlier pod that looked accurate. Weren't really going deep with the ball because we didn't really have all the weapons there, but got just about everybody back to practice, and offense looked like it just picked up where it left off. And I think that's just really encouraging. And I also heard that they were trying to do a lot of mismatching with the receivers this year, like lining them up in bunch and letting Devontae get out behind AJ.
Oh, I expect us to see a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, Saquon Barkley is going to get the ball, and he should still be the forefront and the breadwinner of the offense. But I mean, we've had the conversation before. If the pass game coordinator is coming and the wide receiver, the head coach is a wide receiver, like, we're gonna throw the ball, you guys.
Dude, I've been begging for bunch, dude, with AJ and Devontae.
Mismatches.
Like it's such a nasty combination, dude. Yeah. All right, you got a corner trying to cover Devontae. Yeah, get through AJ first. Like, dude, it's just the multiplicity of it all. It's encouraging, man. You got to like it.
EJ Smith brought up a good point on the Philly Special Pod. He was talking about how Kevin Patullo, he's been the main constant besides Nick on the offensive coaching staff, or besides Jeff Stoutland too. But just in terms of him kind of finally having full say, I guess, if you want to phrase it that way. Him kind of being in charge, right? Like there have probably been things that he's wanted to implement in terms of passing game that like now, he gets the chance to kind of write his own book.
Absolutely.
Definitely, man. And Jalen Hurts actually spoke about how he took the off season kind of like I don't want to say it's a bond, but to build chemistry with Kevin Patullo, which I mean, it's interesting to me because it always brings me back to Kevin's first statements when during his introductory press conference where he says, I mean, yeah, I know these guys. Like I've been around them since day one, things of that nature. So that should make the job easier. But I'm still trying to get to know them in terms of what they like as players, what makes them tick, what gets them going. So to have him, it seemed, especially given the conversation or the reports that we've seen about the efforts that Jalen and Nick put in last offseason, the time they spent together to get the offense correct and things of that nature. Seems Jalen Hurts he got asked a question. And I mean, of course, we know the same stoic answers we're going to get from Jalen in these press conferences. But he got asked a question of basically how has he learned to navigate these multiple coordinators and things of that nature. And I mean, just taking something from it a bit, I feel as if I feel like we were a year too early. We had this conversation last year when Pierre posed the question, what is the next step of Jalen Hurts' development? And for me, it was he loves to use the term he wants to be a triple threat, wants to win with the arm, wants to win with the legs, wants to win with the mind. And I was looking at a video of Tom Brady a couple days ago, I believe it was, when it was just him talking about what made him special.
Brady retired like 5 years ago, bro.
It's crazy.
And he's still the standard.
I know, but I'm just saying you're a sicko, bro. You're watching videos of a guy who retired years ago, dude. That's why I love you, dude. You're a legend, dude. He's like, it's a Tuesday morning, time for a Tom Brady video.
Yeah, man. But he was saying basically just about what made him great. And he talked about how he never really had the greatest arm. I mean, he could make the throws. He had an NFL arm, but he never really had the greatest arm. And he damn sure wasn't athletic. But what he really always had was the mental aspect of the game. He maybe learning under Bill Belichick had something to do with it. But he said from an early age, from early on in his career, the big thing was he's seen a lot. Hell, his first career start was against Vic Fangio. So
that's crazy. That's a nice nugget. That's crazy. His first start was against Vic. Wow.
Yeah. I think Vic was with the Colts at the time. But just basically by the time he became the Tom Brady we know and love, because he started off as a game manager, Tom. Don't screw up. Take care of the ball. Let the defense and everybody around you continue to win these games. And before he came to Tom Brady we know and love, or up until that point, it's because by then he had seen it all. There was almost nothing that teams could show him. And when you look at Jalen Hurts and him having a chance to work under all of these offensive coordinators, like he stated, it's kind of like just constant repetition. You learn something, you stall it away. And maybe if you see a specific defense, you think back to those moments like, oh, yeah, I remember that. But then you also got to continue to learn the new offense and add that to your repertoire.
It's like what Vic wants to do for the defenders, but taken to the farthest extent. That's such a great point, Quell, of like he's now being able to, like, I mean, he's what now 6 years into his career?
5 years.
5 years into his career. He's so many different types of offenses. He's seen like all the different looks like teams are going to be thinking to throw, and like all the different options you can have. Like Jalen has experience in all of them, right? And we talked about that as something that's been a negative in the past as well, because there just has been a lack of continuity. But once you have like some of that continuity, which it feels like this year you might get, even though it's a new OC, but it's similar ideas, similar people in the building. Once you have that in combination with now the just Rolodex of information Jalen has built in his brain, that's when you start seeing special players become special players. There was like I sent it to you guys in the Twitter chat. Somebody just put Jalen and Tom's like 24 through 27 years together. Look pretty similar. I mean, and we said it since the beginning, bro. Like, well, I remember saying this on like P's and Q's. Like, yeah, Jalen is not like He doesn't have the strongest arm, but
Yep.
he just has like the mental aspect of it. It's just like it's the Mamba mindset, dude, and it becomes underrated in sports nowadays. But like, you just have a will to win, and you're willing to do whatever it takes, and that manifests its way in. Sure, it might be making plays on the field and doing something heroic, but it's also in like, hey, I'll be the game manager because all I care about is winning. And then when you let me out of the straitjacket, as Jalen likes to say, I'll show you what I can do. But I prioritize winning more than anything.
And it's like that's the thing with Jalen, right? Like his chief skill among all is winning, right? It's the success, right? And there's this general notion, we've said it from the jump, national media have said it, local media has said it. All the dude does on a year-to-year basis is get better, right? Development on a year-to-year basis he's just improved every year since he's become the starter, right? And it's like regardless of what's around him, whether the offensive coordinators change, personnel changes, only constant, the one thing that's synonymous with Jalen is winning, is success, right? And we all know how hard the dude works, right? Like, so even now with him winning the Super Bowl, being a Super Bowl MVP, there's no reason to think that this is going to stop or it's going to change. Like, it's just continued development.
It's his approach, right?
Yeah.
Like even this year, Quell, I'll let you go in a second, but I just wanted to say, like, he spoke about how there were just a couple seconds he could save on certain throws, and that was what he worked on this offseason. A lot of people are getting young now and don't remember, Brady when he was younger, but those are the type of things that Brady was working on. Like that's like almost like word for word some of the things I remember about reports on Brady, like, oh, he adjusted his arm angle here so that he could get more velocity and get the ball out faster. And just like these little micro things that as you become more established and understand the offense and defenses around you even more, you're able to just hammer down on those little details. And those in turn are actually lead to exponential growth. It's those little things that sometimes are the biggest blockways sometimes.
But those, like you're saying, those little things, like we talked about, like the whole Mamba Kobe mentality thing, the Brady, that type of like obsessive nature, that's what makes good players great, right? Like I think I tweeted it earlier this week, but after 2022, the Super Bowl loss that he had, right? And he's talked about it a ton, but you can just kind of tell like it changed something in him. Like he's always been an extremely, extremely hard worker, but like the obsessive nature, like all those little things that you're talking about, like him working on, those and, really hammering down on them, again, that's just what's going to make him even better.
And I guess for me, kind of to put a bow on all this entire conversation is there's this continued conversation. It's been the talk of the off season. Where does Jalen Hurts rank amongst all the quarterbacks in the league? And I sent Pierre a joke the other day where one guy basically was like, but the stats are telling you this is what it is. And guy was like, nah, but my eyes just don't believe it. Eye test is better. And basically, for just point of bringing that up, we have a lot of people that fall in love with potential. They fall in love with the possibilities of what these players can do on the field, which I mean, rightfully so. I understand. We fans of the game for a reason. We fall in love with the game because you see your favorite players do these crazy things on the field. I wish the conversation wasn't as blurred. I wish we understood what the qualifications were as to how we are ranking these guys. Because I mean, I do think these accomplishments should account for something like Super Bowl MVP or things of that nature. But point being for bringing this up is just Jalen Hurts will never, like you said, Parth, he'll never be Lamar Jackson's athletic abilities, or he'll never have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes' arm and things of that nature. But the mental aspect of the game that he's trying to learn to perfect is like athleticism fades. That strong arm and things of that nature that we fall in love with these guys for, that fades away. But what continues to make great quarterbacks, it's kind of like a great boxer, is when you don't have your power anymore and you got to learn how to basically win off numbers. How do you continue to win? And it's just the little nuances of the position that never fade and they never leave. If you continue to do those at a high level, it's what made Drew Brees and Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and all of these guys successful for a long time. It's because the mental aspect of the game.
The only way. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the only way Jalen's going to get the respect of those guys. I'm thinking back to, NFL QB power rankings I've read throughout the years. It's when he gets the other rings. But
a lot of that, I also feel like is people's, positions on Jalen from the past.
No. I
want to admit that they're wrong.
Totally agree. But at one point, he just has multiple rings, dude. There's just there's not much you can say.
Be undeniable.
Yeah, that's how it was with Brady. It was there were guys who would Aaron Rodgers had a couple of years where he was probably a better quarterback in the league from just a quarterback-y perspective.
Aaron Rodgers probably a better pure talent than Tom Brady.
But Brady was number one in the power rankings every year. I mean, they would go back and forth, but it would end up being Brady because Brady won.
He
had rings, right? So I think that just becomes the ultimate equalizer. Is hey, guess what? Yeah,
and that's
you got a ring.
And that's the thing with me on Jalen. You talked about it, Q. The stats and statistics and accomplishments have to count for something. But it's with Jalen, he's had sustained success across 4 years, right? Every year since he's became the starter, they've been in the playoffs, right? Regardless of you want to say it's the personnel, it's the coaching, whatever it is, he's been the constant at quarterback.
That stresses
right?
me out, bro, because we've seen all of these guys. It's a whole Fox post about all of the help, and then basically this team has never had this 1,000-yard rusher, 2,000-yard receiver. Basically, all the help that damn Dak Prescott had that year, nothing. We sat here and we see what Patrick Mahomes started with. Tyreek Hill, I don't think there's ever been a better skill set of players right there in terms of how they affected the field with Tyreek's speed and Kelsey in the middle of the field and Hunt and his pass catching. All that just goes over everybody's head. Same thing for Joe Burrow. Apparently, just drafting his college receiver, it means nothing. Oh, matter of fact, let's go get him another help.
It's narratives, bro. It's agendas. People don't want to admit that they were wrong. That's all it is. It's frustrating.
Well, whatever the narrative may be, another ring would end all that. It's just about getting to that point, which is the hardest part.
Agreed. But you did it last year. Let's do it again. I'm in. I don't know about you guys. I'm in. I'll be there. Go Birds. All right. I think we got one more topic in us. Quell, you got the time for one more?
Yeah, let's roll.
All right. We've kind of covered this a little bit, but maybe we just give a quick answer. What's the top position battle we're interested in once training camp starts? We'll start with you, Pierre. Quick.
I think safety.
3, 2, 1. Okay. Oh, no way. I shouldn't have started with Pierre. All right. Yeah. That was stupid by me. Bad hosting by this guy, dude. Come on, dude. Why? And why Pierre?
Because, man, number one,
the aura of Andrew Makuba.
Nah, man. I've been a Sidney Brown fan. I'm a Makuba fan. The Cooper DeJean interjection on the position, all the different moving parts, and just seeing how it.
Are you still a Sidney Brown fan though? Because you dropped him.
I don't want to play with you anymore.
Quell, you remember? I remember as well. That was crazy. He was. I still with him.
I still like Sid, but I like Makuba more.
I'm young enough to remember a timeline of you and Pierre on the timeline arguing why Sid would be the starting safety. And then
I wasn't arguing. No, we are not rewriting history. I was not arguing that Sid would be the starter. I was arguing that Sid would get the opportunity to compete for the starting spot, that he deserved that. That's what I was arguing.
Maybe you weren't arguing very well because that's not what everybody was thinking.
That's not my fault. That's not my fault. The reading comprehension skills aren't there.
Words mean things, brother.
Words mean things. Words have meaning, Pierre. Words have meaning.
Oh, but if I had to say which position I'm most interested to watch, it would probably be, clearly, I don't think it's no surprise, linebacker.
Yeah.
Just with Nakobe and his injury, we'll see exactly how everything plays out there. I mean, with all the excitement surrounding Jahad Campbell, how he could or could not be utilized, but having to understand that he won't be on the field allegedly until August, excuse me. And I mean, like I continue to harp on, we all see how long that kept Cooper DeJean off the field last year. So it's interesting to see exactly how long it'll take for him to get on the field, and when he does, how they continue to use him. And then there's the conversation of the selection of Shmuel Mondon and Jeremiah Trotter, who seems to be the go-to guy right now in terms of the reps. So,
all right, I didn't forget about that last year for the new one, like you, Pierre. All right, got some loyalty. Jeez. No, I think that's going to be a really good position battle because Smile was getting reps too.
I think those two had they was taking first two, Smile and Trot. They took first
because Zach Bond had soreness or something.
Kind of soreness.
Yeah, you deserve that day, brother.
Soreness.
You deserve it.
Trying on the contract.
You deserve it. You deserve it. For me, I mean, I know I should technically say guard because that's probably the most significant to the team in the future.
That's the most Parth answer also. The big boys up front.
No. I'm going with the receivers, bro. I mean that's the most Parth answer possible. Is I care about who's wide receiver 3.
You wear trench player jerseys.
Jalen Carter is not just a trench player jersey, bro. It is like it's all pro player. All right, he's gonna be in the Hall of Fame, bro. That's why you buy.
I don't care if he wore 8 or 98. I'm wearing the jersey.
Damn right. And I gotta, well, we're not. The 8 jersey wouldn't have worked out if I bought that. Since now he's talking all this shit. Like, dude, relax, CJ. My God, dude.
That's your guy.
I know.
I
got the damn jersey in my closet. Don't talk about it, Quell. You pointed the wrong way, so now you can't point again. I mix it up all the time. Regardless, I care about wide receiver 3. I want to know who's going to be getting those reps. I think the drama, the intrigue of it all is just interesting. We got a lot of former high round picks, and AJ and Devontae are going to miss some games. Like it's just how it goes.
Say this.
I mean, no, I'm not saying they're going to be out like indefinitely, but like
I just don't even want to think about it.
Fair, but I do think that there are going to be some games where some of the deeper guys in the receiver room are going to have to step up, and I'm much more encouraged and excited, I guess, about guys like Jahan and Terrace than I would have been about Johnny Wilson and
Smith
and Anais Smith. Right. So
another one of Pierre's. I don't want to play with you anymore.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
I still like Anais.
I guess there's not a new quick receiver yet, Quell. As soon as we get another one.
No, whose buddy they signed from? Where was he in? Was he in Atlanta?
I think he's
the dude who Sirianni got like extremely hyped about. I mean, according to Nick,
Williams, right?
Yeah.
I thought he was just a kick returner.
Nah, when they brought him up at the owners meetings when Sirianni was doing his presser, he got hyped.
Sirianni also just gets hyped a lot. Like he might just be on the bag, bro. Like,
sorry, I'm using my hands. We're talking about receivers.
Listen, it's a good position, dude. He knows ball for that. Yeah, such disrespect, Pierre. Oh yeah, it's a 98 jersey. You were trench player jerseys. My God, dude. My God. Sorry, I'm not aura farming at every turn. I'm only gonna wear a Hurts jersey, bro. Hurts or Saquon. That's all I wear, dog.
Jeez. Hey man, I got Smitty and AJ too.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, yeah, I can only wear that one, but it has to listen, have some respect for the trenches. You're an Eagles fan, for Christ's sake. My God, dude. If there's one city you can get away with wearing trench jerseys, it's this city, and probably the Steelers too. Because I mean, like, what else are you supposed to wear there? Like, I mean, I guess you got your AB jersey. A lot of Juju jerseys for a while. That was
brother. You mentioned AB. Have y'all seen the news about him?
Yeah. Wait, what did he get in trouble for again?
It's like an attempted murder charge, bro.
So it's a lot to go in.
It was from a while ago though, right?
Yeah,
like, I remember this
whole chain and all that. So
I just saw the attempted murder.
He's an idiot he's probably going to catch some kind of charge anyway for firing off in a public place. Like, this endangering other people at that point. But for the most part, the attempted murder charge, I don't think
you think the lawyer's going to be like, but Your Honor, the
put
CTE.
that shit on.
Yeah, that shit on. Oh my god, what a crazy fall off, dude! I remember the whole nitrogen burns on the feet. Remember that?
That was like the cryogenic chamber.
Yeah,
joint that he was doing.
it's like nitrogen cooled, right? So then he
Mhm.
burned his feet in that, and then he ends up on the Patriots, right? Then
The Raiders.
no, yeah, well that was on the Raiders, but then he ends up on the Patriots, and then was it the Bucks or the Patriots where he took off his shirt?
The Bucks.
The Bucks, yeah.
And I think it was against the Jets.
Yeah, it was. That was nuts, dude. I'll never forget that. It's just like, I'm like, dude, what is wrong with this guy? We'll never see someone like that again, dude. Like, there's diva receivers, but like the level of unhingedness of just like insanity, pure insanity.
And then it was like on a week-to-week basis. You never knew what was going to happen.
Shout out to Vontez Burfict for some top tier entertainment, man. He didn't know it at the time, but he made a star. He made a star in that moment.
My goodness.
The before and after interviews are just nuts, dude. He's like,
no, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I think before him, maybe the two closest guys were T.O. and Ocho.
Yeah.
But they weren't at that.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
That's what I was thinking.
T.O. was fairly close.
Yeah, and
Ocho
has gotten worse with age.
No, Ocho was pretty bad.
I know, but like, dude, the things he's been saying in the last year or so, I'm like, Ocho,
like,
relax.
Shut your mouth,
AB
bro.
is definitely the kind of guy to have a list in his locker room of cornerbacks he's going to face and who's about to get cooked next. That's some AB type of stuff.
No. Yeah, that's fine. That's receiver stuff. I'm talking about Ocho on Club Shay Shay bearing his soul and talking about things that no one should be talking about.
Well, like sucking toes?
Certain surgeries on body parts.
Ocho, that's Ocho though. I ain't really nothing new to Ocho. Ocho always been a wild humdinger like that.
I know.
He ain't got no filter.
You don't gotta say it all. You know, like it's just too much. You know, Club Shay Shay, and then it'll be like, come on, Ocho.
Come on, Ocho. Ocho, you're gonna get me in trouble.
I can't do the Shannon voice because then I'm gonna do the one that I sent y'all. All right, we gotta sign off. Wait.
Before we sign off, are we really pod bros? I got new glasses, and none of y'all said, "Oh, they look nice," or nobody acknowledged it.
That's because we were too caught up on the Philly Muslim look.
Yeah.
Okay.
They look nice. I didn't. Are they that much different than your glasses?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice. These are thicker.
But they're the similar frames up front.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, see, you didn't turn your head. How am I supposed to know that? You're gonna call us out, but doesn't give a little, like, see, look, you didn't say I got
not enough aura farming.
You didn't comment on my fade. You know.
Your cut looks amazing, brother.
No, amazing. It's too late now. It's too late. I brought it up. It's too late now. It's too little, too late. No, I like the glasses though. I like the glasses.
Appreciate you.
All right. What we wanted to say is for all the viewers, we appreciate all 89 of you who hopped in today without any notice. Turn on notifications on our Twitter page. That way you'll get notified when we go live and keep in touch. We don't tweet bullshit, like if we're tweeting something, like it'll be an article, it'll be information about the Eagles. Like we're not gonna spam your timeline. So go ahead, turn on notifications for us and keep tuning in because we really appreciate y'all. And
it might be the occasional Pierre or a farm, but it's okay.
Yeah. I mean,
every now and again. Every now and again.
You can't help yourself, but that's it. It's every once in a while.
And also something else I wanted to say, and I've talked with y'all about it too, but potentially doing like a mailbag pod right before training camp starts, just to kind of get some interaction and everything like that. So be on the lookout for that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was connected to that. That's what I was also going to say next. There's 89 of y'all, and you guys are all Philly fans. say something. I know y'all have something on your mind. Even if it's hate, just say something. Get the comments popping, and because we like to respond to the comments, and we can get the conversation flowing that way. But the mailbag, whatever it might be, let's get in touch and let's get through this off season because next season is going to be stressful. But anyways, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars.
Tap in with the pod when we release it as a pod tomorrow.
Yep. Appreciate y'all though, and happy Father's Day again.
Go Birds.
Father's Day. Go Birds.
Father's Day.